Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to work on my $12 clip and grow juniper. I haven't worked on this tree for almost a year. I last repotted it and pruned it up in March of last year, and I've just been letting it grow since, and it's been growing really well, and today I'm going to prune it. Here is a look at the tree. So I haven't really picked a front for it yet, but I'm leaning towards the other side. This is the back of the tree. So I'm leaning towards this as the front. It shows the windswept nature of the tree more. The foliage is growing really well. It's been growing slowly over the winter even. So I'll show you a close-up of the foliage. You can see that the foliage is growing and extending really nice. It looks nice and healthy. It's got its adult foliage back. After I pruned it last time, it reverted to needle-like foliage. So the tree is really healthy. It's protected here in the greenhouse, so I think it's a good time to prune it. Growing a juniper takes patience. You can't take too much foliage off at once. If you take too much foliage off, it'll revert to juvenile foliage, that needle-like foliage. So you just have to be patient. Prune a bit, like about a third off the tree at a time. Let it fill out again, prune it back, let it fill out, and repeat that process. And over many years, you should get quite a nice looking juniper bonsai. This tree is growing in a pot that was given to me by Jay from Blue Jay Bonsai. And I think it's a really good size pot and style for this tree. I'm going to start today by working on the surface roots. Here's a close-up of the root system. And you can see some of the roots are kind of sticking out in the air. They don't really follow the flow line of the trunk into the soil. So I'll be pruning away some of these roots, like this one here. It's sticking out. It's rooted, but it sticks out in the air, so I'm going to remove that one. There's a little hair here I can take off, a dead root. I'll also clean off this moss that's growing up the root base. Here's another one that's sticking out in the air. That can be pruned away. And then I've got this kind of major one sticking out the front here. And you can see how much it sticks out in the air. And I don't think it looks good. I think I better remove that one also. So here I go. So that one's gone. You can see these roots look good because they're kind of tightly against the trunk. This one could be removed. And then I've got this one that kind of sticks out. I better take that one off also. There's a root hair here sticking out. I can take that off. There's a stub here I can remove. These ones are just hanging in the air. They're dead. That one. This one can be removed. This root here is kind of growing from the inside of the curve of the trunk. I think it would look better without that one, so I'm going to remove that one also. Just keeping my better looking roots that kind of flow with the trunk line. So some hair is sticking up here. Around here there's some roots sticking out. I think these ones look good. Not sure about these ones. Take some of these root hairs off. Well, that looks much better. I think I think these two, because they kind of go a little straight down, they're not so good, but they could be repositioned when I repot it next. All right, I'll clean up the moss now and brush the roots with a toothbrush and get them cleaned up. And we'll have a look. I better look around the back too. Well, I've got this one root growing from way, way up here. And it's a fairly major root. It's hidden around the back, so I don't think it's too much of a problem. I'm just pruning some stubs off here where I root pruned it before. Just kind of cleaning up the flow of the root base. Yeah, I think the other ones are okay. I'm going to leave them for now anyway. Okay, let's get out the tweezers and the toothbrush and clean up the root base. Okay, I think that's looking good. It's got most of the moss away from the roots. I'm going to start the pruning now, and the first branch I'm going to prune is one that's been kind of bothering me. It's this one here. It grows from the inside of this branch and goes straight towards the other major branch. I don't want branches in between these two kind of major trunk lines or branch lines. So this one is coming off. The first cut of the day. Now there is another branch developing here, but I think that one's okay because it'll grow out. It'll grow out underneath here once I position it down there. Like that. I think it continues that flow out to the right hand side. So on the trunk here, I've got two kind of branches sticking up here. And I thought about, should I just keep one? It is kind of unusual having two branches here. But I don't want this tree to look predictable. I don't want it a formal, boring kind of style. I want things on this tree that are interesting and maybe unusual. So I'm thinking of keeping both of those branches and maybe developing one higher and one as more of a lower branch. So this one kind of is nice because it if you follow the curve of the trunk, it comes up and then comes towards you. So it'd be a nice sort of little apex here. Whereas this one, if you follow the trunk up, it's more of a turn. It doesn't flow quite as nicely, so it would be better as a branch. So I am going to treat this one as a branch and this one as sort of a trunk leader or extension. So on this branch-like one, I'm just taking some dead foliage off there. I've got a shoot sticking straight up I'm going to remove, which is in here, which was dead anyway apparently. And then I want to keep this sort of as a lower branch, so I'm going to prune this branch back to some foliage growing outwards, just taking the tip off. The same with this one. I'll take the vertical part of the branch off. There's a dead stump on the tip here. And then I've got a vertical one shooting straight up here that I can remove, so off it comes. I'll just come in here and prune it back, taking that tip off. I've got another vertical one growing from in here I can remove, like that. And then out the back I have quite a tall vertical part, I'll remove the vertical part and keep my more horizontal branch. And I've got another one back here that's growing quite vertical that I'll prune back like that, and then I'll prune the tip off this one also. It's getting very, very vigorous like that. So it kind of flattens this out as more of a branch, and I'm keeping more of the upright growth on this other one. Now I do have a branch, this one, that grows down here, and it's kind of a ladder branch. I've got a more interesting branch above it, so I'm going to prune that one away. That one's gone. And then on the top of here, I've pruned it once, it's divided into two, and I want to keep my one that's blowing with the wind and just shorten this one. So I'll shorten that one, keep this one to grow. Also on here, I'll keep my ones that flow with the wind longer and stronger, and the ones that are facing the other direction I'll prune back. So do some tip pinching here and here. This one that's sticking up, I'm just going to take the tip off so it doesn't keep extending straight up. I've also got some new growth coming from down here I'm going to remove. And then behind these two branches I have some shoots sticking up from the trunk. You can see them here, kind of growing in between no man's land, between these branches and this branch. I don't think I want them, but on some of these old junipers you do get growth coming off the trunks, very compact little growth. So I think I'll keep it, I'll just shorten it. I think it'll add to the miniature feel of the juniper. So keeping it there, but just, shortening it, keeping it compact, like it's small, kind of stunted growth. Just pinching out the tips here. Yeah, like that. Now I have a fairly tall one back here that I'm going to prune away and keep my smaller growth. So I'll prune that one way back, prune this one back, and this one back. Sort of cleaning out that section, but keeping it there. Pinch the tip. Yeah, so there's some growth in there, but it's not so noticeable, and it's very compact. Okay, so I'll just prune this tip. That's got, these two branches pretty well pruned up. I could take a bit off here. Just pruning these strong extensions back. Keeping that growth that's going into the wind tight and compact. Now I think I should take this one back a bit further. It's a little strong looking still. That one can come out. It's a bit of a distraction. Yeah, so that's got kind of these front branches pruned up. I could take a bit more off here. Again, trying to, not do everything at once on the juniper. Otherwise, it'll stress it out and it'll revert back to juvenile foliage. Okay, so that's cleaned up. So next I have an unusual branch here. It's growing from the bottom here and it comes up. And again, it's one of those branches that's kind of unusual, but I want to keep it. So I'm just going to take the vertical part off here. And then behind it, I have another branch sticking straight up. And that one, I'm not so sure about keeping. If I do keep it, I'll make it very compact. And if it dies back from the pruning, well, no harm done. So I'll just prune it back, keeping it compact. Bit of pinching. Yeah, so it's kind of reduced this section back, so it's a little more compact. And then as I come out, well, I've got a strong branch up here, and I have to decide, well, do I want to keep that one? I've got another new shoot growing beside it that's very upright. I've already pruned this vertical one once here, trying to keep the wind-swept part of it, and it's developed a new strong shoot vertical off of it. So it's a difficult decision. If I were to remove that branch, I'd have, a bit of a dead spot in the middle here. And I don't want, every branch to predictably be growing in the wind. Some of these junipers, they kind of curl around. The form of them is very random or unpredictable on these windswept mountain junipers. And I want that feeling in this tree. I don't want it to look like it was like over-styled or, kind of by the book. I want it to be a little more freestyle. So I'll prune the vigorous tops off this, keeping my branches growing with the wind. For starters, anyway. Here's a case here where I have a lower branch and then an upper one, and I think I'm better to get rid of this upper one so you can see the one behind it. Like that. Here I've got this branch dividing into three. In this case I'm going to take out the middle one. It's kind of weak. It's always tough decisions. So on this branch here, I've got quite a vertical shoot coming up. So I want to prune that back to some shoots that are going with the wind. So back to there. This one can come back quite compact to here. This one has a lot of growth down here, so I need to clean some of that out. It's a bit too dense. I'll take this one out, and I'll take this one out. It's still probably quite too dense. Take the tip off here. Reduce these ones back. going to take the tip off this one. Just this one back. It's improving. I don't expect, a very dramatic transition today. It'll just be, as I said, over the years, I'll just keep working on it, evolving the style. And there may be things I've left on today that in future I will prune away. Like maybe this branch is just too distracting. I think it is. I'm going to take this one off. Gives a bit of separation here. If I was going to take this branch off, I would have kept that one, but I kind of like this branch. I don't want, like I said, everything windswept. I want some feeling like it's trying to grow upright, but the wind keeps battering it down. And that's what you want in a juniper, is that feeling that it's trying to defy its elements. That, it wants to grow upright into a normal looking tree, but the wind and the snow and that batter it, and the heat of the sun, which kind of styles it into this windswept form. I've seen a lot of people get really wild collected junipers and then they tame them. They take something that's very wild and natural looking and they tame it and make it look very domestic or lush, and I don't like that. I don't like that contrast between this wild trunk with lots of deadwood and movement and then this beautiful kind of umbrella canopy on the tree. I like a more natural feeling juniper, and that's what I'm trying to do with this tree, is to keep that wild element to it and just kind of make all the foliage compact and sort of realistic. If you look at those pictures of Sierra junipers up on the mountaintops, they're fantastic trees. Wild looking trunks and little tight foliage pads, and they don't look overly lush. They look just right, the right balance between wildness and refinement. I've got a vertical shoot here coming off this branch that I'm going to prune back like that, and I have a shoot out the back I'm going to prune back. Now I have a little wispy branch coming out the front here. I like this part of it, and the vertical part can be pruned back like that. I've got behind these branches, I have a branch here that kind of follows the direction of the wind, and then I have some growth coming up the front here. I think I can remove that. Shorten this one and shorten this one. And remove this one. Again, not taking too much off at once. Here's one here that's growing up. It's very vigorous. I'm going to take that one back to about here, like that. There's another one here growing up. That's very vigorous. Take the tip off it. There's one here. It's very vigorous. We'll take the tip off that one. Like that. Shorten this growth that's going into the wind. Keeping it, but just shortening it. Now, let's have a look at these branches here. I've got one coming from the inside here that I've shortened already. I think that's fine. There's one There's one growing at the base of this branch I'm going to remove entirely. I don't want too much clutter in that area. This vertical needs to be reduced back. This vertical one can be reduced back. This one also. Behind here. Like that. Now I'm coming out to the tip of this back branch, and I have a lot of strong growth at the tip here. We'll take the top off this one. There's a branch going to the inside I'm going to remove here. Take the tip off here. This one's good. Smells nice, this juniper. This is a Sabina juniper, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. Okay, I think it's time to go around the back of the tree now and start working on these back branches here. So I am around the back now. I'm looking at these branches. Here's a strong tip I can prune back. There's an upright one I can take off here. This one's strong. I can prune this one actually right off. And I think this one needs reducing. And this one. So anything going, against the wind gets pruned shorter, and the ones that are going with the wind are left a little longer. And that'll create a nice windblown style. This branch here is growing above the branches below it, so I'm going to take it back and take this one back like that. Little tip pruning. So it's looking good, this branch now. This branch out front here, it's got some strong growth here I can prune back. This tip is very strong, I'll prune it back also. This one can be pruned back. There's a vertical one growing here. I'll just prune it back. Keeping it for now. Keeping lots of possibilities open on this tree. Tip off here. And the tip off here. And this one's very strong. I'll prune it back. This one also. That one. This branch here is growing very strongly. It needs to be reduced back. And this one, I've got some growth back on this branch here, and this one's a little close to the division here, so I'm going to prune this one away, keeping my ones that are a little further out. There's a strong growth here I can prune back. Lots of tip pruning. That's sorting this out quite nicely. It's looking better anyway. Getting rid of a lot of this kind of vertical growth, pruning it back. Okay, now this branch here, this big back branch. So from the front, it's certainly very bushy. So let's start in here. We've got a couple of branches, I think. I'll take, well, no, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to just shorten it. I'm going to shorten this one. And this one. Keeping this foliage, as I said, you know, junipers, these mountain junipers have really tight, compact foliage growing in weird places. I'll take this branch tip off here. It's interfering with the other branch. It's looking better. Now I've got some strong vertical growth up here. I can prune back. This one can be pruned back. And the one behind it also. Now I've got a branch here. It's getting very vigorous. I'll prune this one back. Get the tip off. Tip off here. Here. And here. This one I can take the tip off. Here too. Here. And here. Now there's a branch here I'm going to remove entirely. Getting a little too dense in there. And this one also. Just giving these branches a little space. I'll take this part off. A little space to grow. Tip off there. Tip off there. Pinch this one back. Now, I'm thinking this one here could be removed. There's like 3 branches going from one spot, so I'm going to take this one off. Just giving a little more room in this area. Take this one out too. And I'll prune this one back. And I've got a really vigorous one here. Prune back. This one also. This one. So that branch is getting better. I could take this vertical part off. I think I will. This is too many branches interfering with each other here. At the base of this branch, I've got a vertical shoot I'm going to take off. Cleaning that up a bit. So that looks much better from the front now. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's much better. Take this part off. And this part. Just giving a little more light in there. I've got to a strong shoot out the back here I can take back. And here. Okay, so that, I think that branch is cleaned up quite nicely. So that now leaves my sort of upright branch here. And it's quite nice. It gives a lot of depth to the tree. So I'm just going to prune the long extensions back. I'll get subdividing, more compact growth. Otherwise these will just take off in the summer. Grow like really strongly. And there's one behind here I can prune back. And this branch also needs some trimming. Tip pruning. I think I'll take this one back a little harder. And now this one, I'm going to take off that growth here. Cleaning that out a bit. And maybe I'll even take that lower. To there. Tip off. Here I've got two parallel branches. I think I'll take the vertical part of it off, keeping this. And a little bit more movement back there. That back, pinch the tip. Pinch this tip. Okay. Now on this branch back here I've got some vertical growth that's a bit too strong. I'll take that back. This can be taken back further. I wonder if I should take that one off. Yes, I should. This branch back here is just clogging everything up. It's blocking light to the branches I want to grow. Same with this one. I've got a double branch here. I'll remove one of them. Let's step back and have a look at the tree now. It's recommended that you take no more than 1/3 of the foliage off a juniper, so you can see how much is on the tree and then how much I've taken off. And I think that's, a good third. I think that's a good safe pruning. Here is a look at the tree now. So I think it's improved. I think it still has a very wild look to it. Maybe it's a little dense out here. However, I guess I could clean it out a little more. I see a branch in here I could take off. Those tips back. I could reduce the height here a bit. And here. And here. Maybe this a bit more. Yeah, I think I've taken enough off, and it should grow really well once the warmer weather hits here. It's in the greenhouse here, protected, so it should do quite well. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I think that's a good, I think this is its third pruning now from nursery stock. So I'll rotate it around so you can see it from all angles. All right, here I go rotating it around. So here is the front of the tree, coming around to the right-hand side, coming around to the back of the tree, over to the left-hand side, and back to the front. Here's a look at the tree from above, so you can see the branches, the placement of them. They're all getting light. My juniper normally sits on the bench here, and I have the side that's windblown facing the sun. So the stronger parts of the tree get the most light. It'll grow towards the light, and it helps develop that windblown style. So that's something you can keep in mind when you're placing your tree, is where you want it to grow, put that side towards the sunlight. Another step forward for my $12 clip and grow Sabina juniper today. I'm looking forward to working on this tree far into the future. I think it's got a nice basic style, and I just hope to improve it as time goes on. So that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.